Friends, as we see from that gospel that storms in life and family can lead us to doubt ourselves from time to time. Things can get a bit crazy. I think Pope Francis put it very, very well when he was speaking about families. When plates fly sometimes, you need to take a little bit of a step backwards. You need to re-examine. We're called as Christians to live out our vocation in our work, in who we are ourselves, but also within family life. We can find ourselves sinking in stress, in anxiety, in worry, and all the cares of the world. How our families will be. Will I be able to provide for them? School, etc., etc., etc. You know this yourselves. But we focus on this gives us an opportunity today to refocus in terms of our understanding that Christ is with us. What did he say to the people? Be calm. Be calm. It's stormy, but be calm. He also gave us that wonderful phrase, do not be afraid. So here to speak to us about that, coming from his own experience as a family man. He's married to Nuala. They have 3 boys, Jim Deeds, 3 boys from 20, 17 and 15 years of age. And he's an author, he's a poet, he's a broadcaster. He works in the pastoral ministry in the Diocese of Down and Connor, and he's here this afternoon to speak to us and to help us to find God in the mess. Jim.
Thank you. Good afternoon. As Father Richard said, I am a husband of 1 and a father of 3. I have to be very careful not to get that the wrong way round, or I could get myself in trouble. And I live in the wounded and wonderful city of Belfast. And on top of those things that Father Richard said that rightly that I do, I have a hobby, which is I love to make things out of wood. And I have a little workshop set up in my garage in the back garden. And a wee while ago, I was in the garage carving a spoon, of all things, out of a beautiful block of mahogany wood. And while I was carving that spoon, I got to thinking about family. Now, why might I have been thinking about family when I was carving the spoon? Well, you see, from the garage, I can look into my kitchen window. And when I looked in through the window, there I saw Nuala reading a book. I saw Emer doing her homework. And I saw Brendan and Joe eating again. That's my family on a Saturday afternoon. I paused for a moment, an outsider, looking in, looking on that unit that changes me from I to us. And I let my mind wander as I worked. And I thought, families can provide us with such comfort and security. That's probably part of the fruits that last that we hear spoken about in the Gospels. But it could be so easy to get caught up in wanting our family to be like that all the time, or to be in some way perfect. If we think that families are places where everything goes right all the time, or where people get nothing wrong, then we're setting ourselves up for a fail. And you know what? We're missing the point. You see, families are messy, aren't they? We know it. And that's because people are messy. We are messy. Life is a bit messy. It does not always go right. However, in families, when people mess up or where things go wrong, the response can often be forgiveness, love, and compassion. The mistake is forgiven and the people are loved despite their mistakes. What I command you to do is love one another, as Jesus told us more than once. The genius of family does not lie in never messing up or always getting it right, but being a place where the possibility of true love and commitment to each other is always alive, despite or maybe especially in the messy, difficult times. It can often be the messiness of family life that makes it a sacred space. So anyhow, back to the garage, and I'm carving the spoon. And I was getting near to the end of making the spoon, and it was beautiful. It had a lovely deep bowl at one end and a long, slender handle. The wood was looking just absolutely beautiful. But one glance too many with a piece of sandpaper, and the spoon broke. Now, I could have become very down on myself. God, how could you do that? I could have blamed the file. These files are too rough. I could even have blamed the wood and not being strong enough, it not being perfect enough. But then I remembered that I was carving this spoon while also reflecting on the true nature of family life, the messy nature of family life. And it caused me to wonder this. What do we do when we encounter brokenness in our families? More importantly, what would God have us do when we encounter brokenness in our families? Well, I believe that God would have us love the brokenness and the broken person, and in that love, which is an outworking of His divine love, to transform that which was broken into something beautiful. And so I set about transforming that broken spoon as a sign of my commitment to embracing the messiness and brokenness of my own family life and of me myself. I looked at the bowl of the spoon. I turned it upside down. I looked at the broken handle and saw that it could be cut into shorter pieces that would look like 4 legs and a wee tail. And it became a wee tortoise. Now, I know that you can't see that from here, but I brought him along with me today to support me. And if you see me after Mass, I will very gladly introduce you to this beautiful little tortoise. We call him Winston in our house. And he sits in our sacred space in the living room. And everybody who sees him raises a bit of a smile when they see him. And he reminds me of the nature of brokenness and the power of transformation. You see, that broken thing became something new, something quite pretty that draws a smile from those who see him. And they would never know that this perfect little thing had once nearly been set aside, could have only been seen as a misshapen sort of thing. But broken things are strong. They do not conform to one shape only. They have within their lines of crack and fracture many possible new shapes, potential waiting to be unlocked and reshaped and seen for what they already are. Perfection in need of some love. Perfection in need of some love. I love that as an image of family life. Families are our backbone. They give us a sense of where we came from and where we're going. They create homes, and homes can be places of love, nurturing, and welcome. They are places where we tolerate and celebrate difference. And when we do that, we gather around one truth, that we are all created by a loving God whose love for us knows no limits and who wants our families to be an expression of church, an expression of the gospel, and of the joy of love itself, as Pope Francis has written to us. And yet, I don't know about you, but I have spent most of my life trying to avoid messiness. I can get caught up in seeing that only perfection can be where God is. God can only love me if I seek perfection, not in my mess. Families are a great witness to finding God in the mess. I've been blessed in recent years to work alongside a wonderful Jesuit priest called Brendan McManus, and together we have explored this theme of finding God in the mess. And as we did, we came up with 5 guiding principles that I'd like to offer you today by way of closing. Principle number 1, life is messy. Life is messy. Life is not always a smooth ride. We know that, don't we? It is, in fact, by its very nature, messy. Now, knowing this can help us attain a kind of freedom to examine the messes that we find ourselves in without getting wrapped up in wondering, why me? What have I done to deserve this? Lived experience of life is what makes us who we are. If we lived a perfect existence, we would never grow. Principle number 2. While we don't seek out to be messy, nor do we punish ourselves in that mess. Oftentimes, our response to encountering messiness in our life can be to feel bad that it's happening and seek to punish ourselves or punish other people to make it go away. Now, we do all have responsibilities, but punishing ourselves in the mess does not work. You cannot punish yourself out of a mess. You will simply add more mess upon mess. We could all do with giving ourselves a bit of a break. Maybe as I speak, you could begin to wonder, how could I give myself a bit of a break? How could I give other people a bit of a break? Am I too tough on myself? Principle number 3, we are never alone in our mess. God is with us. No matter how our brains can trick us like the disciples, quick, wake him up, wake him up. And Jesus said, where was your faith? Because he was there. We are never alone in the mess. God joins us there. God does not only join us when things are going well, God is with us always and in our mess. Which leads us to principle number 4. Acknowledging that we are not alone in the mess and God is there allows us to hand it over, to give it over, and to ask God to be with you. And really, that's what prayer is. St. Teresa of Avila, whose parish I come from in Belfast, said, "For prayer is nothing else than being on terms of friendship with God." And this is a key point of this principle, that the Creator and the created can be in dialogue together. We can talk to God in our mess. We can share with God where we are in our mess. And when we do this, we find that we come to the 5th principle, which is that God does not want to keep us in the mess. We have a God who wants us to be in consolation, a God who wants us to know peace of mind. Acknowledging God in our mess, our need for God, and our ability to communicate through prayer will allow us to feel that consolation of a God who wants to lead us on a good path so that we have life and have it to the full. Now, if we think about these principles and follow them and spend time in prayer with them, if we meditate, if we find companionship with God, we're better able to tune into God's will in our lives. And ironically, this means that we don't focus all of our energy on our particular mess and how to get out of it. We focus our energy much more on our own innate goodness and God's innate nature of unconditional love for us all, for he knows us individually and he loves us. There's a lovely line from the prophet Jeremiah where the Lord says, "I will let you find me if you seek me with all your heart." Isn't it beautiful? I will let you find me if you seek me with all your heart. So perhaps today we could pray for families, for messy family life. We could pray for each other in whatever mess we're experiencing. We could pray that we will truly seek God with all of our heart. And we could pray in thanksgiving in the knowledge that we have a God who is searching for us and who is waiting to let us find God in the mess. Amen.